Hello, guys. Welcome to our day 30 days of code. And in today's session, we are going to be building a sleek countdown timer that we are going to use to count down our time in seconds. So let's dive right into it. I'll be sharing my screen now so we can start building our countdown timer. So this session is actually beginner friendly. So if you have no prior experience about building apps, feel free to join us. The code editor I'll be using is Visual Studio Code. So I'm opening my Visual Studio Code right about now. So upon opening my Visual Studio Code, I want to create a folder for today's session. So the folder I'll be creating for today, I'll be naming day 13. Wow, we've come a long way. And we didn't come all the way yet to just stop. We're moving on. So day 13, and under this day 13 folder, I want to create just one file for today, and that will be, let me name it index.html. So today I'll be embedding my CSS and my JavaScript in my HTML file. So this HTML is going to contain everything. Very good. So first of all, let me change the title to countdown timer. That'll be countdown timer. Good. That's great. So in our head, we are going to have our style. So this style will serve as the base for our CSS. Then let me have my script. So it is in this script that we are going to be writing our GSS. So let me go live now so that anything I'm doing on my code, you can be viewing it on the web page directly. So this will enable us to visualize what we are building in real time. I just use the live server icon. Good. Let me minimize this a little bit so you can see. Good. Great. This is nice. So the first thing I want to do is I want to attach an heading to this. So to do that, that will be, let me make use of H2, so it won't be too big. H1 will be bigger than H2. It counts down timer in seconds. Timer in seconds. Very good. Okay, that looks nice. So after this, the next thing we want to add is the label. I want to add the label. So label. So I want this to be the label for time and time. Good. So after the label, I want to have my input. So the input should be input of number. Number is great. Then should have an ID of time. Then should have a placeholder. Just that should be. So I want my user to enter the time in seconds. So the placeholder should be enter in seconds. So so enter in seconds. So that's good. So this timer will enable the user to input digits, to input their time in seconds. So that's the work of the timer. So after the user have entered the time, their preferred time, I want to give them an option of clicking a button. So I'm going to create a button. So the button should have start, since it's a timer. So when they click on the start button, it starts clicking. That's good. So whenever the user click on the start button, I want the web page to display the amount of time remaining. Maybe they have 2 seconds remaining, maybe they have 3 seconds remaining, maybe they have 10 seconds remaining. And also, whenever the user exhausts their time, I want them to be able to see it on the web page that time's up. So I'll have to create a paragraph icon elements for that. So I'm going to leave it empty. So it's going to change depending on the situation of the user. So I want to give this an ID of display. Display. So you can actually view, you can visualize my countdown timer here is something very, very, very extremely basic. We are going to design that later. But before we go to the design and decorating part, let's move on to the JavaScript first of all. Let's add some functionality to our countdown timer and see how it actually works. So the first thing I want to do, I'm in my script elements now. So the first functionality I want to declare the interval, because we are dealing with time, we'll be dealing with a lot of intervals. So the first of all, let's interval. But I'm not assigning the interval any variable. I'm not assigning any value to it yet. So I just want to declare it. So let's interval. That's okay for that. So the next thing I want to do now, I want to create a function of start counts down. So whenever the user click on the start button, I want the function to be called upon, start countdown. So that will be function start count down. Yeah, this looks great. So the first thing I want to have under my start countdown is that if I have any intervals that have been previously done, I want to clear it off so the user can begin on a fresh start. So that will be clear interval of interval. So this will enable the application to clear whatever interval they have remaining or the deficit that is on the web page. So after clearing our interval, the next thing we want to do now, we want to declare our time. So the user, we created an input earlier where the user can input their time, and we gave it an ID of time. So now we are going to call upon that using seconds. So that will be seconds equals to pass int. Pass int means that any digits that the user enters into this box must be in integer form, not just a string form. So that will be pass int. Let me put my bracket. So that will be document dot get element by ID, and the ID of the input is what? Time. I get element by ID time. So any value that we have there, dot value. So we are changing that to what? We are changing that to seconds. So this is seconds dot pass document dot get element by ID value semicolon. So after doing this, we want to set our interval. So that will be interval is equal to set interval. The interval equals to set interval. Now we are going to create an arrow function for this. I want to create an arrow function. So one thing to note about this interval is that because we are dealing in seconds, we want the seconds to change every 1000 milliseconds. So before I forget, let me quickly add that this interval should change formation after every 1000 milliseconds. Okay, that's good. So let's continue setting our interval. So interval is going to set interval. Good, great. Now let me add an if statement that if the seconds is less than my back. If the seconds is less than or equal to 0, what should occur then? So if the seconds is less than or equal to 0, first of all, I want to clear the interval. So everything, since it's 0, I want to clear it off. So that will be clear interval. Good. So whenever the seconds is equal to 0, I want to clear the interval. Then I want to display a result. Oh, sorry. Before doing this, I should have this. After setting my interval, I'm supposed to have document dot get element by ID, and this is going to be an ID of display. An ID of display. That's what we have. That's what should show the amount of time remaining. Document dot get element by ID of display dot text content. So I want that to be equal to. So what should display whenever the time is counting down? So that's what we are typing here. So whenever the time is counting down, I want the web page to display the amount of seconds remaining, the amount of seconds remaining. So that will be seconds left. So this should prompt the user to know that they have this amount of seconds left. Now, if the seconds is now equal to 0, I want to change the output. So the output should be document dot get elements by ID. So we are still on the same display, but right now the text content will differ. Text content. So the text content now should be equal to times up. So whenever the seconds is now equal to 0 or less than 0, we want the content to change to what? To change to time up. So let me minimize this so I can view it properly. Okay, start countdown, class interval, seconds. Good. So interval says, oh, this spelling is not correct. Yeah. So it says interval. Document or get element by ID display. Yeah, seconds left. So if seconds is less than 0, place then display time up. Okay, so another thing I want to add is that yeah. So after every seconds, we want the seconds to reduce, or we want to by 1. So it should continue to reduce by, it should continue to decrease by 1. So that's what we have here. So let's test what we have now. So let's assume a user clicks on 3. So that's 3 seconds. So we want to count. Okay. So we want to count down 3 seconds. If I click on start, nothing is going to happen yet. And the reason why nothing is happening is because we created a function. The function is start countdown, but we have not called this function yet. For us to call this function, we'll go back to our HTML, we'll go to the button, and clearly states that anytime the user click on this start button, we want to call on this start countdown function. So that will be on click. So on click, you should call on the function of start countdown. Okay, that's good. So now let's try it again. Let's have about 3 seconds and then we click on start. Very good. Very good. Can you see that? So we are having our counts down. Let me try it again now using 5 seconds. 5 seconds countdown. Let's start. Very good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. One more time. Let me use 4 seconds now. 4 seconds. So let's start counting down. 4 seconds left. 3 seconds left. 2 seconds left. 1 second left. Time up. Okay. So that's good. So our time down count timer is working. Our countdown timer is working perfectly. And now one more thing to note: if I have, let's say, I can't enter an alphabet because this inputs can only receive numbers. But if I have something like 4 minus 100, what happens if I click on start? You see, I have an error saying nouns left. That is not a number. So what do? I don't want it to just be not a number left. So I want to add a functionality that is going to tell the user whenever they enter an invalid input. So I'm just going to go into this and I'm going to click on if the inputted value is not a number, that is, if is none seconds, that is, if seconds is not a number, or if seconds is less than 0. If seconds is not a number, or if seconds is less than 0, I want this to occur. I want there to be an alert, and the alert should state that the user should enter a valid number. Then I'm going to return this statement. So let's do that again. Let's assume I have 3 seconds, count down. I'm going to have 3 seconds left, 2 seconds left, 1 second left, time up. Now, what if the user now have something like 3 minus 9 and click on start? You see, almost immediately they have a pop-up telling them that they should enter a valid number. So we have successfully created our countdown timer that prompts the user to know whenever they enter an invalid number, and even advise the user to enter a valid number. We have done great with our JavaScript. Now let's move on to our CSS. Let's style our timer a little bit. So to add style to our timer, I'm going to copy, or I'm going to cut all these and place them in a div. Very good. And I'm going to call this div, I'm going to give it a class of container. I give it a class of container. So from here, I'll go to my style, and in my style, I'll click on body. Body. So the display of the body should be flex. So the display should be flex. So with this, I'll move on to my div. I'll move on to div. So I want the div to also have a display of flex also. Display of flex. Yeah, that's great. Flex direction should be column. Flex direction column. Max width should be, let's see what 400%, 40% looks like. So the max width. Okay. Let me change the color of the background. That is a bit too much. Okay, it's cool. Okay. Line item center. Yeah, 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 yeah. Margin should be auto. Okay. Margin auto. Margin sub 50 pixels. Okay. Countdown timer in seconds. Pardon. At pixels. Very good. Mm, border radius should be 20 pixels. 20 pixels. Okay. This is okay. Okay. From here, let me go to label. For the label, I want it to be bold. That'll be font weight. Font weight is bold. Good. Font size. Mm, that is a bit too big. What's this one looks like? Fine. Okay. Okay. That's good. For the input should have a padding. Left and 5 REM. Margin 0.5 REM. Okay. Mm. Yes, okay. Now for the button, let's make the button a little bit bigger. So that will be, let's add the padding of 0.5 REM. Okay, okay, okay. Border radius of 5 px should go a long way. Border radius of 5 pixels. Font width, good, good, good. Border none. Border none. Nice, nice. It's coming out to be nice. Let me maximize it so you can see. Change that part into one. Good, better. Okay. Mm, let's go back to the color. Change the color a little bit. Let me make it. Yeah, the P. Mm. Yeah. Uh, I'm just thinking of colors to add to this like colorful. Okay, okay. Let's okay. Let me add some dark shadows to it. The okay. Let me add transition. So for the transition, I'm going to have transform. When it comes after 0.3 seconds is Then the box shadow. So transform after 0.3 seconds with ease. Okay, so let's see what that looks like in the div over transform translate. Box shadow will be 0, 9 pixels, then 10 pixels. Okay. Okay. So let's wrap this up now. So this is our countdown timer. So let's add some little bit of countdown. So let's do 5. So whenever I input in 5 seconds and I click on start, I'm going to have 5 seconds left, 3 seconds left, 2 seconds left, 1 second left. Time up. Okay, so let me maximize this now. I'm going to have, let's say, 6, and then let's start. So that'll be 6 seconds left, 5 seconds left, 4 seconds left, 3 seconds left, 2 seconds left, 1 second left. Time up. So what if I have something like -4 seconds and I click on start? I'm going to have the pop-up saying enter a valid number. So thank you so much for joining us on today's session. So with today we have just designed our countdown timer. So feel free to tweak with the colors and change the colors to your own preference. So in our subsequent sessions, we'll be dealing with more sophisticated applications. Thank you so much for joining us for today. That'll be all we're having.